Hello, I'm Mr. Hendricks, and this is my older brother, Mr. Hendricks.
Hello.
We're going to be reading some books today, and the first book we're going to read is...
We're going to start with reading The Teeny Tiny Witches by Jan Wahl, illustrated by Margot Tomes. I haven't read this book in a long time. I would tell you a little bit about the book in advance, but I really don't. I wouldn't know what to tell you, so we're going to discover this book together as we get into it. The Teeny Tiny Witches. This book is dedicated for Sarah, the good white witch. There are all kinds of witches. Mean witches, kind witches, fat witches, skinny witches, cross witches, and happy witches. But there was only one family of teeny tiny witches. Ma Witch and Pa Witch, and their small son Sam Witch. They had just moved into a pumpkin, lying orange and green in a field. Pa Witch cut little windows and a door. Ma Witch helped scoop out their slippery insides. I better redo that part because I read it wrong. Ma Witch helped scoop out the slippery insides. And Sam Witch played nearby with an acorn. At night, the pumpkin was lit with a cheery glow. Pa Witch smoked his pipe. Pa was happy with their new little home. But one cold morning, a shrew family pushed its way in, pushing out Ma, Pa, small Sam, and all their furniture. If only we could make magic like other witches, we would show those shrews a thing or two, said Pa. But they were too tiny. Now we must start all over again. Pa groaned. Where can we fit in? We might fit in there, said Ma Witch. She pointed to a hole in a hickory tree. They fixed it into a comfortable, cozy house. It was a lot of work, but it was worth it. When the wind blew and the giant owl hooted on a limb, they were safe and snug. Ma Witch stitched a picture in needlepoint. It said, "Home sweet home." Leaves turned brown and brittle. One brisk fall morning, 2 squirrels dumped a load of walnuts and began to stuff them in the doorway. "Wait a minute," Ma shouted. "This house is occupied!" "Occupied by walnuts," answered the sharp-toothed squirrels. And as Ma and Pa and Sam raced for safety, the bigger squirrel threw a walnut at them. They hid under a dry pea pod. Pa thought a minute. If we clean out this pod, we'll have a getaway boat. With a stick for a mast and Ma's skirt for a sail, they floated down a clear stream. "This is the life," sighed Ma. "Where are we going?" asked Sam. Just then, the pod boat got stuck between stones. The sun was going down, and the sky above looked empty and cold. A turtle lifted a gray, wrinkled head. "What will you give me if I save you?" he asked slyly, through half-closed eyelids. "We'll give you a wish," said Pa, "but a small one. I can do a bit of magic, nothing special, because of my size." Pa had pulled a flea out of a hat once. "Okay," muttered the turtle. He carried them to the other shore. "Now, for that wish," he said. Pa, Ma, and Sam listened carefully. "I've always wished," whispered the turtle. He looked embarrassed. "Yes, you've always wished?" Ma asked. "For some warm boots for winter," he said in a small voice. "That doesn't take magic, that takes know-how," Ma replied, and she set to work with Pa and Sam's help. They knitted 4 fine boots out of thistledown, tying them on the turtle with the thinnest grapevine. He smiled gratefully and slowly slip-slopped away. "We must find a place to sleep before the moon rolls out," Pa said. "Other witches enjoy moonlight, but it is not good for us." Pa knew that owls' eyes see best at night. "If only we had our broom, we could fly," said Ma. "Let's make a new one." They found a strong twig and set to work. When it was finished, they climbed aboard. They whizzed through the dark, cold air as the moon climbed higher in the sky. Balancing and holding on to their hats at the same time was not easy. "I hope we find some place to fit in soon," whispered Sam, shivering. I think I better reread that page because I wasn't very whispering of Sam.
Yeah.
They whizzed through the dark, cold air as the moon climbed higher in the sky. Balancing and holding on to their hats at the same time was not easy. "I hope we find some place to fit in soon," whispered Sam, shivering. Just ahead, Pa saw a small cottage on the top of a high hill. "The answer to our prayers," Pa said. Inside the cottage lived an old man named Mike Feeney. His wife had been gone for many years. He sat mending his wool stockings. 2 birds slept in a cage. Sam and Pa and Ma flew in through a crack in the wall. A warm fire crackled in the hearth. "We'll fit here," said Pa, settling the broom down on a high shelf next to a handsome teapot. "The perfect place," he said, eyeing the teapot. While Ma and Pa got the teapot ready, Sam flew off on the broom by himself. He darted about the room, wobbling. "There's an insect in here!" shouted Mike, chasing Sam with the fly swatter. Poor Sam lost his balance and tumbled onto the soft rag rug. As fast as he could, he crawled into a mouse hole in the wall. It was the home of Elmer, Harvest Mouse. Like the old man, Elmer was old, but lively. "Out! Out!" he squeaked. Sam looked glum. "Not again," he said. "There is no place for Ma and Pa and me. We don't fit anywhere." "Young fellow, what kind of a mouse are you?" Elmer asked. "No mouse," Sam told him, "just a misfit, the world's tiniest witch." My, said Elmer. "Listen, I don't get much company. Tell your Ma and Pa to come and visit. Any time." Sam said thank you and peeked out the hole. Mike was asleep in a chair by the fire. Sam raced up to the shelf. "Where were you?" cried Ma and Pa. "Hop inside." That night, exhausted, all 3 slept in their new house. Early in the morning, Mike came whistling toward the shelf. He took down the teapot, and Ma Witch, Pa Witch, and Sam all fell out. "More flies!" yelled Mike. "Pesky critters!" The witches ran away as fast as they could. "Quick! Quick!" squeaked Elmer Harvest Mouse. "In here!" Ma and Pa introduced themselves, and Sam introduced Elmer. The family spent a happy morning listening to Elmer's tales of days when he was a young harvester. Once he was almost caught by a gray cat as he carried in kernels of corn. Ma and Pa and Sam were fascinated. They wanted to hear more, but Elmer began to doze, mumbling, "More tomorrow." The family tiptoed out and began to look for a new house. They found a worn slipper in the closet. "I guess we fit here," grumbled Pa. "Somehow I wanted something better." They pushed the slipper into the shadows and fixed it up. Mike Feeney didn't mind having a mouse in the house. He left Elmer slices of cheese, and Elmer shared them with his new friends. "That mouse eats more all the time," Mike said to himself one day. Winter winds whirled about the cottage. The best place to be was in Elmer's snug mouse hole, listening to his stories. But every night when Elmer dozed off, the tiny witches crept away to their slipper. Then, one very cold morning, Mike wanted to wear his slippers. He went to the closet and found one. "Where is my other slipper?" he asked, out loud, and began looking for it. The teeny tiny witches raced between his fingers and fled to Elmer's mouse hole. "It's happened again," groaned Pa. "We don't fit here either." "Oh, yes you do," said Elmer. "Where?" said Ma. "Mike just took our slipper." "Right here," said Elmer, smiling. "Oh, we couldn't," said Ma. But the more she thought about it, the better it sounded. The mouse hole did need a bit of fixing up, and she knew where there were some scraps of cloth. She could make curtains and pillows and cover Elmer's footstool. "Oh, Elmer," said Ma. Pa and Sam nodded. Elmer grabbed his tail and started dancing. The teeny tiny witches joined in. They fitted somewhere. The end.
I liked that book.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Thanks for reading that book.
Sure, yeah, my pleasure. I enjoyed reading it.
I think we're going to read another book in a little bit, maybe on a separate video.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be good.
Thanks for listening.
Yes, thanks for joining us for Mr. Hendricks and Mr. Hendricks Storytime Hour.
We'll come up with a title.
Yeah, it's not really an hour. It's more like a quarter of an hour.
Right. So. How much time was it? Yeah, it was 15 minutes. Not bad.
Yeah.
It's a good amount of time for reading.
Yeah. So, this is the pilot episode, and if you've been so lucky as to join us for this episode, then you, I don't know.
Then you're
just really
hopefully
lucky.
You had a nice time.
Yeah, and if you didn't, maybe you'll enjoy one of our other books that we're going to read in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Thank you, Mr.
sometimes it's
Hendricks.
just hard to say goodbye, so you might just still be talking,
Maybe the video will just cut out before we're done saying something.